pod bay doors, please, Hal.
Good! There ain't no bad!
No, there's bad.
Just look at this joint.
Yeah, those were Richard Nixon's first words when he arrived in hell, too.
These people don't like television.
We call them hipsters.
Who the hell are you?
I'm the Archangel of Paunch.
You're going to the West Coast?
The West Coast.
Mr. Boogaloo has already arranged your first concert tour.
North Bend, Oxnard, here you come.
Created for me.
Mr. Bond. Oh, too soon. Sorry.
All these people had a Bim burger an hour ago.
Oh, I got a BIM right now.
Oh, me too. Oh, God. Oh, no, I'm already bimming.
Do a trance and join me in the Apple Dance.
Well, the Apple Dance is basically just the Humpty Dance, but instead of getting busy in Burger King bathrooms, there's apples.
This makes the Village People movie look like the Guns of Navarone.
Created for me.
You're my Build-A-Bear.
I am your man.
What's the name of that movie where the sequel had a cruise ship? It was awful, really awful. Oh, right. Yeah, strange that I would forget that.
Jeez, take a breath, lady.
You're made for me.
Mr. Bond. Really? Nothing?
Jack! Rose! Jack!
Rose! Cerebro?
Wrong one.
Magneto.
With sad, frightened eyes.
Who the hell is Bluto from Animal House when you need him?
Me when she...
All of a sudden, it's one of my wife's 80s workout tapes that I never watched in my underwear when she left for work.
And you'll be my queen.
Mr. Bond. Seriously? Still not here?
Well, it's not exactly what we're looking for at the moment.
We record Foley sound for porn in this studio. Not sure who let you in.
Please allow me to introduce myself. I'm trying to remind you of a better devil song.
Woo woo!
Mr. Bond. Oh, hell, I give up.
The pod bay doors are open. Thank you very much for joining us once again. I'm Doug Heller, your host, film critic and film historian for TalkMovieToMe.com. Here, as always, with my co-host, film critic for ArmchairCinema.com, ArmchairOscars.com, and OverThinkingOscars.wordpress.com, coming to us from a vague dystopian future in 1994. Jerry, where's the BIM? Is it on the way?
They're children of the 60s, what you might call hippies. $10 billion?
Okay, everybody stop saying $10 million. Now, we're kicking off Turkey Month, and this is my choice. It's called The Apple from 1980.
Yes, it is. Your choice.
1980. I discovered this movie through Riff Tracks. I had gotten their subscription service, Friends, and I was literally going through their alphabetized A to Z, and The Apple was right up.
This is a golden turd, man.
Right up there in the beginning of it all, and I watched it, and I have seen this thing probably a dozen times on Riff Tracks and once without.
This is a golden turd. I mean, it is
horrible.
This is fascinating.
Yeah.
I've heard of this movie.
I had not.
I've heard of this. I didn't know what it was.
I still don't know what it is.
I still don't know what it is. I've seen it 4 times and I still don't know what it is.
Yeah.
You mentioned it, and it came up, and I started watching it a week or 2 ago, and I was like, I don't know what this is, but this is just gloriously awful.
Yeah,
this
it is
shit.
This is
shit.
Magnificent trash. It's somehow.
Let me tell you this.
Go ahead.
This is one of those movies that every bad movie website eventually will land on.
Oh yeah.
Okay, it's
inevitable.
If you have a bad movie site or you have a bad movie show on YouTube, you're eventually going to arrive at this movie. That's it. How in the world you describe this, I do not know. I tried to find commentary for this to keep this episode going. I can't. I can't describe how indescribably indescribable this movie is.
So, I believe they mention maybe only once that it's set in 1994. They don't have a whole
once every 5 minutes.
Right, they don't have a whole song about it or anything.
In case you don't know, yes, they have an entire song.
They do. Life is show business in 1994.
Can I talk about that number for a second?
We could talk about any number you want because
there
there
is
is a whole lot to...
Because that whole musical number is 4 minutes. It's 4 minutes of Sorry I Asked.
Yeah, I know.
Because the guy asks...
He's like, I do this ballet something, and he goes, who? It's like, you never ever say who. And it just launches into this massive production number.
Well, he's sitting next to this guy, and he says, who are you? He says, he introduces himself, and he says, the guy looks vaguely European, and everybody in this movie looks vaguely European. And he says to the guy, who are you? And he says, I'm Diaghilev. I'm Kenny Diaghilev from Kansas City, and he hands him his business card. He says, I handle Ballet 3000. And all of a sudden, Ballet 3000 appears behind him and performs for the next 5 minutes.
Oh, and boy, howdy, is it 5 minutes.
It is the longest 5 minutes you've ever seen in your life. It is, like I say, it is 5 minutes of Sorry I Asked.
Right, because... The musical number...
Nothing but show business in 1994.
Yeah. And the number is basically... If Busby Berkeley was directing the fake Busby Berkeley number in Blazing Saddles while on a lot of coke.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you what happened to me. I started watching this on a Saturday night. 3 minutes into this movie, I'm convinced that Alan Carr had something to do with this because I'm watching this and I'm like, this has Alan Carr shit stains all over it.
Who's Alan Carr?
Because Alan Carr is a very bad producer. The producer of Can't Stop the Music.
Yes.
He was, I think Grease 2 was his. He's most famous for producing the Oscars in 1987. He's the guy who came up with the infamous Rob Lowe Snow White number. Which completely obliterated his career.
Yeah.
But he was known for shit like this. And I'm looking at it, I'm going, this looks like something, it fits like right in between Can't Stop the Music and Xanadu.
Yeah.
That kind of 80s rock musical kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Kind of like Flash Gordon, that kind of, it's a music video kind of glitter rock disco thing.
Right.
Which would die very quickly.
Yeah.
And like you said last week, this is just absolutely obliterated the musical for several years. Yeah. And I'm watching this and I'm just like, I am baffled because the movie makes no strains to explain itself.
Oh no, not at all.
It goes to no pains to explain itself at all.
So I read a little bit about this on IMDb, and apparently this had originally been conceived as an Israeli stage production of a play about God and the devil.
Right.
And it was
and then Menachem Golan got his hands on it.
Right, it was turned down for stage production because they said it was too elaborate and too costly to produce. And then, yes, it got wound up in his hands, and they scrapped all 17 of their original songs, which, if this is what they replaced them with, maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah. We talked about Menachem Golan before, because in Shocktober, we talked about him when we talked about Life Force.
Mm-hmm.
This was during the time when they were doing all the Chuck Norris movies. You know, his kind of Karate Strike Force movie and all of that stuff.
Breaker, and
yeah. This kind of just dropped right in the middle of it.
Yeah.
When I saw the Cannon Group, I was like, okay,
yep.
that explains a lot.
That immediately lets you know what you're watching. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm watching this, and I'm like, this is just gold if you're looking for bad movies.
Oh yeah.
And I realized also, because I ended up paying for the riff tracks,
which I told you,
it's worth it.
Yes, it is.
Worth it.
Absolutely.
And I went around and I looked at all the regular bad movie shows that I watch. Everybody has handled this at one point or another. You can't not talk about this. And when you watch it, you can't help but not tell somebody about it.
Yeah, it's
You're like, oh God, you got to see this.
It's an Adam and Eve biblical allegory set to horrifyingly. What?
For a minute.
Well, it happens every now and again. It pops up every now and again. The apple is, of course, a reference to Eve's biting of the apple.
It's more Milton.
Yeah,
it's more Paradise Lost.
This movie does not like women.
You think? Wow, where'd you get that?
This is... Ooh.
Well, it kind of starts with... I don't know. I was so confused because it's like... It starts with a song that I guess is supposed to be the anthem of this company that they play every time. It's this BIM, which you don't know for a while is the Boogaloo International Music.
Mm-hmm.
Which Boogaloo is the head of the company.
Yes, Mr. Boogaloo is actually the name of the antagonist in this movie.
Yes. Which the actor who plays Mr. Boogaloo, previous episode, he played Kronstein in From Russia with Love. He was the chess master.
Yes. Yes, he was.
But it's supposed to be, I think, a musical contest.
Yeah, but it looks like Boogaloo has complete control over it, and like it's his, so...
And but you only see 2 songs.
Yeah, and it appears to be numbers 5 and 6 out of I don't know how many. But
you never see the others.
No, none of them.
But they show you this opening number.
They probably couldn't afford extra people. Extra groups.
But they could afford a crowd of thousands. But
well, that's true. That could have been
the audience is into this. And then these 2 kids come out and they start singing the lamest.
Oh, it is so terrible.
The lamest kind of Debbie Boone, We're All One People kind of song.
Yeah, it's called Love, the Universal Melody. And it starts off, its opening lines, and I'm not kidding, are, La 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 la. La 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 la. They don't even start with
Those
words.
are the opening lyrics.
That was the opening. No, that was the opening words. I mean,
La 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 la.
it
La,
was,
la, 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 la.
and then people are like starting to like say, oh, it's so beautiful, and it's starting to.
One girl.
Yeah.
One girl.
Well, she starts crying, but all of the girls in the audience are.
No. She's not crying. They've jammed soap in her eyes to get water to flow down her face.
They've dropped.
Those aren't tears.
They've dropped Visine and told her to think of her first dead puppy.
Yeah. Or splash water on her face.
Right. I mean, and so
they're measuring the audience's reaction.
Right. I don't understand the heartbeat thing, because if you're going at 150, if your average heart rate within this audience is 150, they're gonna die.
Right.
Really fast. Like
well, it's not just that. It's not just that. It's like they're measuring, and the audience, when they're singing the opening BIM song, the numbers like go up really. They start breaking records.
Yeah, 150.
But when they start singing the love, universal, whatever, the numbers still go up. But the audience is angry.
Well, they don't want it at the beginning. Then they shut up. They start listening to it, and for some reason, then they start to enjoy it. Which they also
they're not really enjoying it. They're just kind of waiting for it to stop.
But then they start they want you to believe they started getting into it, and then they put on that red cassette to bling out, put in digital noises and everything to get them booed. And
what I love is the ADR. What I love is the ADR when they put that red tape in, because when it starts making noises over their song, and all of a sudden you just hear like off screen, hey, what's going on here? It's like it's not even in the same movies.
There's an awful lot that happens that it looks like it looks like the action happened in one place and the reaction happened months later somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah, they just piped in the sound because, hey, what's going on here?
Watch out for snakes. And so the Boogaloo sabotages these two because they're getting better numbers than his song. He doesn't represent them. He probably represents everybody else in the contest. But he's put forth Pandy and Dandy.
Yeah. Pandy and Dandy are the two kids that sing at the beginning of the thing.
Yeah. And I love, they start off, there ain't no good, there ain't no bad. It's like, no, there's bad.
There's bad.
And I love
Dandy is like this weird hybrid of Roger Daltrey and Robert Plant.
Yeah. Yeah, and he doesn't pull off either one.
Creepy.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Especially in gold paint.
Ooh.
He shows up later, half naked in gold paint, and I'm like, okay, this just is...
I think half naked is putting more clothes on him than he had. Didn't he just have a gold lame banana warmer?
Look, just call him Uncle Bad Touch, okay? Because he's just, that's the vibe you're getting.
Yeah. So
somehow
they're invited.
Apparently, Boogaloo owns the music industry.
Basically, and it's a dystopian America too. So, like, he has,
it's kind of a metropolis thing,
right? I don't know if he's in charge of the government, or if he is just a highly influential businessman, or if he's part of the government but not the head of it. But they mention that the government is making that BIM song part of the national
So
activity.
much so that when the BIM hour starts, everybody is required to stop whatever they are doing, including surgery and putting out fires.
Yes.
To pay attention to this BIM nonsense.
To dance a choreographed routine to,
Although
hey, the BIM's on the way. Now, here's my question. How was it adopted by the government before one can assume that it was premiered on this show? Because he's like, I predict our BIM song is going to take this competition by storm.
Yeah, he says first
but they're
you
all
sell it,
singing. They're all singing it along with, like they know it, like it's one of their concerts.
They're dancing to it.
Right.
They're like choreographed to it.
Right. And everything already has triangle stuff, and they have the triangle drink glasses by the time they get back to the apartment or the building or wherever they are. I think that the BIM logo is this triangle, and that's what he makes.
The tri-lambs.
Right, and that's what he makes all of his money on, his groups singing songs about his business.
About how wonderful his business is.
Right.
And BIM is on the way.
BIM's on the way. Hey, hey, hey.
Yeah. But here's the funny thing, it's like he's got a merchandise guy. And he says, what have we got? And he says, how about BIM t-shirts? And he's like...
this is 1994. Think a little bit.
Yeah. Let me tell you something. I was around in 1994.
Yeah, me too.
It was not this interesting.
No. Also, the U.S. didn't look like a vague Western European Soviet bloc country either. So
it looked like this. It looked like this movie makes 1994 look like the Soviet bloc as envisioned by the Cannon Group.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it was actually mostly made, I think, in West Germany or in Germany somewhere, and this is just
well. I as I'm watching this, I'm thinking it's weird. It's like apparently he controls the government, but he controls the merchandising becomes a legal
right. It becomes
mandate.
Yeah,
like he comes up with this. He comes up with these little lame
he comes up with
holographic
a
stickers,
and they call it the BIM mark.
Supposed to. And it's a triangle. You're supposed to put it on your body somewhere. It doesn't hypnotize you or anything. Because when I saw that come into the play, I thought, okay, this is going to like control people or something. No. Maybe it will control people. Maybe it will. No.
No, that was putting.
That would have actually made more sense.
Right. That was putting an extra layer of story that they just did not have here.
That would have actually made this make more sense. Because if people have the BIM mark, then it would have been, they're under Boogaloo's control, and they're like, then they would have to stop surgery. They would have to stop fires.
The only insidious thing here is the music.
Yes. Which, by the way, can I mention this before it gets away? The guy on the table who's having surgery starts doing the hey, BIM's on the way, and then dies.
Yeah, he sits up.
Did you notice that?
He sits up, throws his hands up, hey, BIM's on the way, and then drops dead. He's not even open. He hasn't even been cut.
But he dies.
But he
it's
dies
like in
on
the
table.
And I was laughing at this.
Yeah. And you know what the funny thing is? I think you're actually supposed to laugh at that. I think that was supposed to be a joke. It's the only one that lands, and you have to look in the background.
You can't see it very well.
Because it's in like a four-way split screen, and it's behind the primary action in one of the split screen, in one of the corners.
It's actually really funny because he's like doing the BIM sort of fist pump, and then he just dies on the table.
Yeah.
That's actually really funny.
Yeah.
But honestly, it's weird. It's like the thrust of it is this couple. Who is it?
BB and Alfie,
BB and Alfie,
who are from Moose Jaw in Canada.
They're from Moose Jaw,
and they continuously say Moose Jaw.
Moose Jaw.
Like, just because it's called Moose Jaw, it's a joke, and they're
they
stupid.
are the whitest couple.
Oh.
I mean, they are the whitest drink your milk couple you've ever seen in your life. It's unbelievable. They are. They're sort of seduced by Boogaloo's people to sign a contract. Well, not really seduced at all. They have Bib's contract sort of thrust upon them. She's already being marketed before she even knows she's being marketed.
Right, but she was on board from moment one. She was seduced by them. Then Alfie's like, no, this is bad. And he starts having weird visions of Boogaloo being a demon with a bugle taped to his head as a horn and one horn. He's like Phil, the tender of Heck from Dilbert. With the spoon, you know.
Can I tell you something about this actor? This actor who plays Boogaloo. I went down his IMDb page. I was shocked. This man never played the devil. I was actually shocked.
Except in this movie.
Because I'm looking at him going, you have every stereotypical trademark look of devil, and you never played the devil except here.
His features are very pointy.
He's a Polish actor.
She's like, oh yeah, where do I sign? This is great. I like all of the things that you're saying, despite the fact that it will radically change everything about us.
But they have her prepped and marketed and ready to go before she even looks at the contract.
Because they knew she would sign. Nobody's ever not signed.
But she signs up and he doesn't.
Right.
And I don't mean this to be sexist or anything, but when they put her out on stage, she looks kind of hot.
Oh, she's an attractive girl. So's the girl that played Pandy, but
she's kind of hot.
Yeah, but all they did was just turn her into another huge big pop diva, and apparently she's okay with that, ignoring the fact that it completely skips the whole part about being about the music that she seemed to be really into right up until the party. Actually, no, right up until the invitation to the party.
Right.
And she's, musical integrity all the way up to, oh, we've been offered this thing, let's sell out right away.
Right. And he doesn't want it.
Right. He wants to play his songs, which he is under the delusion that they're good. And so he then winds up living with his landlady that he sometimes molests.
Oy vey. God. He ends up, his landlady is played as a Jewish stereotype by Miriam Margolyes.
Mm-hmm.
His landlady is Professor Sprout.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
Who is the biggest Jewish stereotype
you have,
ever seen.
Yeah.
And you just saw the jazz singer.
I'm almost done with the Neil Diamond jazz singer. You ass. And it's about on the level of those Jewish of the father in that.
She is just like the biggest. She's almost on the edge of, why don't you find a nice girl and settle down?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
God. She's this frumpy, she's the only character in this movie that kind of makes sense because she says, why don't you just write the shit that they want and sell it so you can pay me my rent?
Right. It's like, yeah, I understand you want to do this, and why don't you go ahead and keep trying to do this, but also write what they like so that you can, live.
Well, we can't let this go past because I got to talk about the boob grab because that.
Oh God! Wow, how disturbing was that?
That was a shock.
Yeah.
I guess given the cancel culture that we're in, but I'm watching this thing and somehow they're talking and they're playing and they're joking around and she's doing something and he walks up and grabs her boobs.
Yeah, he grabs up from behind her and grabs her bosom like it's like a joke between them, which lets you know that I think this has happened before.
Is this?
And they're just I don't know. I don't know. I
was shocked by that.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah, it was very surprising.
Inappropriate.
Oh, very. This thing is very hard to describe. The imagery is just everything you would expect from a heaven and hell allegory on a budget.
But you can see when they go into these numbers, you can see where they were pried from a stage musical.
Yeah.
From the idea of even the Ballet 3000, you can see where it started as.
Oh yeah.
I like on the riff tracks. They're like, okay, they looked at. Nobody seemed to have looked at the choreographer and said, "How gay can you make this?"
Because I can make it really gay.
Because I mean, everybody. It's 1980. Everybody is wearing tight-fitting stuff. I mean, all of it, if it's there at all.
Mm-hmm.
This is the only movie I've ever seen where the conformos have less clothes on than the hippies.
Yeah, and I just want to say, I want to say this right now so that we can all kind of bask in this. The choreographer was Nigel Lythgoe.
Yeah.
Who is one of the executive producers on So You Think You Can Dance.
Really?
Yep.
Well, that explains a lot.
Yep, and American Idol.
And the songs were kind of. The songs actually were cleaned up by George Clinton, believe it or not, and the Funk Master himself. Which explains a lot.
Yeah.
Which explains why they're halfway bearable, some of them. But it's weird. It's like every 4 minutes we go into another musical number. And the musical numbers are endless.
Endless.
The worst for me is this sort of Temple of Doom, Garden of Eden thing.
Yeah.
Where everybody's spray painted gold.
Yeah. Right.
I don't even know. I can't even describe it.
The whole thing.
And we've got Roger Daltrey Plant running around in gold in full gold body makeup.
Gold lame banana warmer and
yeah. Yeah.
This was actually George Clinton's first movie that he worked on.
Yeah. It was. But again, the songs go on for 7-8 minutes, and they're just endless.
So long.
She sings a song about speed.
Oh man.
Yeah. Like, what is the point?
She's basically condemning America for being, for for being America in the 70s and 80s.
Right.
Which, you know, that's valid. That's a
Yeah.
valid call out.
Yeah.
It's, she's not wrong.
No.
It's just a terrible song.
But she performs the hell out of it.
Yeah. Apparently that was not her voice. She was supposed to be singing, and she was all ready, and the vocal coach and everybody said, yeah, she can definitely do this. She's gonna be good at this. Producers got cold feet and swapped her out with somebody else.
Yeah.
But years later, she was like, no, it was an honor to have her voice coming out of my face. That was great.
Yeah.
It's like she was way better than me.
Because I'm looking at her and I'm going, that does her speaking voice does not match the voice that is singing.
Not even remotely.
Because the voice that is singing is powerful.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, there's a sort of musical number after she gets famous. He gets beaten up by two of I'm sorry, I don't mean to. I don't know. I don't know how else to say this. By two of the ugliest looking men I've ever seen in my life.
Uh-huh.
Those two security guards.
Yeah.
The ones with tusks.
Yep. One of them is Derek Deadman.
Mm-hmm.
Who
really does look like that.
Yep. He was he was a bartender in Harry Potter, in the first Harry Potter. He's let's see here. He was also in Brazil and Time Bandits, and the other one was...
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Was he the giant?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, because I think I remember he was the giant in that movie.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the other one... No, that's not him. Maybe this one, Gunther Nothoff as Fat Dog. That's probably the other one.
Okay.
Yeah, that's his... Gunther Nothoff.
Well, basically, he was
in
Alfie gets
nothing.
drug in an alley. He gets drug in an alley and gets beaten up.
Yeah.
And as he's stumbling home, they have this love ballad that seems to have been dropped in out of Greece. And it's raining. It's raining that fake rain.
And the whole song, I love the riff tracks on this one too. It's like the anti-Evita. They're like, cry for me.
It's like if you're gonna cry in front of a window, close the window.
Yeah. No, don't stick your head out of it when there's no screen and wonder. I mean, that's like getting into the shower and wondering how you got wet. It's like,
Yes. But no, they're like in separate locations.
Right,
She's
they
in Ben's
do
building,
the...
He's in his tenement.
It was done
Yeah.
way better in An American Tail.
And that says a lot because that movie is terrible.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
But he ends up... I don't know how to describe this. He ends up in a park on the ground. No. He ends up with Pandy, because we've got that whole scene with Pandy doing this sort of Donna Summer "Love to Love You" number, and it's weird because it's like this. It's a PG sex orgy,
right? And the song
that should be an R-rated sex orgy.
Yeah. Because the song is literally, I'm coming for you. Let me feel every inch of your love.
And the look on his face as she's doing this.
Because I think
he's not into this.
I think he's on absinthe, though. I don't think he's into anything. I don't think he knows what's going on. because he was seeing like he was having like spider vision. It wasn't double vision. It was like he was having full on insect or arachnid multi-prismatic vision that he really should have had looked at, because alcohol should not do that to you, no matter what it is.
Well, but if you're drinking absinthe.
Well, yeah, if you're drinking real absinthe, like European absinthe from when it was illegal, yeah, that'll happen. So
yeah, because it's like he's drinking this, and she's singing this song that goes on for
ever and ever and ever.
And it
is the single most vulgar song I have ever heard that wasn't done in the 20s by a blues group or a string band or something, like the Mississippi Sheiks or something, Bo Carter or something. Like,
you're watching this and you're like, this just, again, it goes on forever, and it's like she's like you say, she's literally saying, "I'm coming." Yeah. And she's having sex with him. Yeah. And I got a really creepy feeling, because I got the feeling he was not into it. He was on this stuff that they were giving him.
I think that he, just like BB, pretty much the date rape drug worked. That's pretty much what it was. Yeah, this song is so blatant. It's like there's an old song that I know that is actually one of the tamer ones. And the thing is, if you don't want my potatoes, don't mash my digger down so deep. That was done in the 30s. That's exactly where this is coming from. This is...
Yeah.
Oh, and did you know George Clinton is the guy that is the reporter at the beginning that gets demoted to waiter?
Is he?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's the incredibly white guy, not Parliament Funkadelic, George Clinton.
I thought it was Funkadelic.
It's not.
Okay.
It's not.
Okay. Well, I guess I was wrong.
It's because then at least the songs might have been almost tolerable.
I could imagine George Clinton writing the songs for this.
But no, it was George S. Clinton.
Okay.
He also played Joe Pittman, who was he asked a question to Mr. Boogaloo at the beginning that was critical, and he said,
"Is that when he's talking to the French guy and then the German guy?"
Right, and it was the American guy.
Yeah.
He did like soul bossa nova, and a few other things. He was primarily an arranger, and he wrote songs for Mortal Kombat. So his career really took off after the Apple.
Yeah, really hit the heights, didn't it?
Oh, he was also a writer on Soul Train. Yeah. So we're not dealing with the actual
George Clinton.
Real.
It's not dealing with.
Not Parliament Funkadelic. No.
No.
Very much not. He actually looks like George Van Patten.
Oh, really?
Yeah. he looks like he would be getting a very good deal on a Mercedes from his brother Murray from.
Okay, so
Dick Van Patten. I'm sorry, not George. Dick Van Patten.
Alfie ends up getting, when he gets beaten up. He gets sexually assaulted by Pandy.
Yep.
And gets thrown in and ends up in a park somewhere.
Well, okay, the beating up and the sex happened in two different times. Okay. So the beating happened. He went to one of their concerts, and he tried to get her attention at basically the stage door, and was trying to get her into the limo.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Oh, Alfie, I want to talk to you, and then they just threw her into the car.
Yeah.
Then they beat him up. He goes back to his place where he tries to drink himself to death, and the landlady busts in and saves him, I guess, by giving him chicken soup. I don't really know how.
By giving him chicken. Because, that's what old Jewish ladies do.
Right. But the drugging and the seduction and the park all happened after that. He shows up at one of the parties trying to get to BB.
Right.
And
again.
And that's when all of that happens, and then he kind of wakes up. He's woken up by a dirty hippie Santa. And
he's woken up by a dirty hippie Santa played for some reason by Joss Ackland. I do not know why how in the world they roped Joss Ackland into this. He was an accomplished stage actor. What in the world is he doing in this movie?
Paying the rent.
I think he's best known. I think he's best known now as playing the villain in Lethal Weapon 2.
Yeah.
But he's a wonderful actor. What he's doing in this movie, I do not know.
He's collecting a paycheck.
He looks like a
He looks like Tom Bombadil.
A hippie actor who is doing a version of The Hobbit in the park.
Right. Yeah. Something like that.
He's apparently the leader of a hippie commune, the leader of a hippie group that hangs out in the park.
Hangs out. I love it how they use hangs out instead of are a group of homeless people sheltering in a cave. No, they're just hanging out. Hanging out with their family. Hanging out.
Yeah.
Having themselves a party.
They get run off by BIM's security people.
With absolutely no regard for the multiple open fires that could...
The multiple open fires that are like in this... They walk into the trees. They walk off into the trees and leave Alfie there.
And apparently that just means that they vanished because the police don't go after them for some reason.
There are like 4 or 5 open fires just sitting there, just burning. And he tells them, "Get out of here." They tell him to leave, and it's like, can I put the fire out first? How about the one over there?
Get out.
Yeah.
Park's not open to anybody until 7 a.m. Get out.
Well,
there might not be a park here by 7 a.m. Yeah, there won't be a park here by 7 a.m. So...
And he just walks off.
Right. He staggers off.
In his crotch-hugging jeans.
Oh my God, they actually gave him a male camel toe. What was that about? What was that?
Suddenly, all of a sudden, the movie becomes a weird version of Hair.
Yeah. Yeah, because finally BB finds them. Pandy springs her because I guess she had a change of heart after she raped Alfie. Because when he reaches his climax, he screamed out BB's name when he reached climax with Pandy, and that apparently clued her in that he was actually in love with BB.
After being screwed by her for 3 days.
Yeah, or however long that was. And he was heartbroken. The reason that he was heartbroken and left is because he walked in on BB and Roger Daltrey plant, and she's like, "Who are you? Get out of here." Or she didn't recognize him because she was also high off of her chair, gourd out of it. Yeah. No idea what was going on, because I'm assuming that she's regularly supplied date rape drugs.
Okay, can I gotta mention this because I was this movie is never about one thing.
No,
It's like
it's
sort of about something. There's a point at which it just is about random shit,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden, like I said, it just becomes a weird runoff of hair. And then somehow at the end of the movie comes this plot development that has never been referenced at all.
Right, Mr. Tops is coming. Well, who's that?
Mr.
BB
To-
says,
who?
"Who's Mr. Tops?" Now, I want to bring this up. Now, they just said BB has been living with them there for over a year. This is over a year later.
Yeah.
Somehow,
Alfie's been living with the hippies for a year.
right? So has BB.
Yeah.
They have a kid. Right? We
Yeah.
jump ahead like a year and a half. Right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Alfie only really has about half a day on her.
Right.
Living in this commune.
Mm-hmm.
Yet he knows who Mr. Tops is, and he's like, "Oh, trust me," and she doesn't know who he is. How did Alfie learn about him when she didn't? They had to be there the whole time together.
The whole time together.
Why does he know but she doesn't? It's like, I don't how was he granted this mystical knowledge of Mr. Tops, who comes down in a ghost version
Mr.
of a car
Boogaloo-
from
well, Mr.
guy from Harlem?
Mr. Boogaloo shows up to get BB's. To get $10 billion. $10 billion.
Million.
$10 billion.
Million. This was 1980,
Is it million?
1994. Yeah, it was
$10 million.
They didn't have a concept of billion quite.
All of a sudden,
he comes down.
a solid gold pimp car comes out of the clouds.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? I honestly expected somehow Pootie Tang to come out of it.
Oh, God.
It's about on par, you know.
Yeah.
And he comes down, and it's
But an
and
old
it's
white dude comes out of it.
it's the same. It's what's it? Joss Atkins. It's the same.
Joss Ackland.
It's the same guy.
Actor who plays the hippie leader. Plays God.
Basically, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna take all these people away and start over without you, Boogaloo." And he goes, "Oh, but it cannot happen without me," because I guess I want to start over at a place on a planet where your influence hasn't poisoned. It's like,
Okay, help me with
what
this.
the hell is this?
Help me out with this.
I
Okay.
wish I can. I hope I
Mr.
can.
Tops is taking off with the hippies, right?
And Pandy.
But for Mr. Boogaloo, basically problem solved.
Yeah, really.
Because he doesn't have to deal with them anymore.
Right. Now it's just he can just be in his.
So everybody kind of got what they wanted.
Yeah, basically.
And they all walk off into the sky.
Yes.
Literally, they just walk
They
off
they
into
they
the sky.
they are optically processed into the sky. They actually leave in much the same way the victims of the off salmon moose in Monty Python and the Meaning of Life.
Oh, Monty Python could have made a beautiful statement with this film.
Oh.
Let me tell you what happened with this film. When this film premiered, they handed out copies of the soundtrack to people going into the theater.
And during the the presentation, the first time this was ever shown, they threw the soundtracks at the screen. Causing massive
It destroyed
damage.
it.
Yeah. Apparently the director...
Menachem Golan goes back to his hotel room and is about to jump out the window.
Yeah, he's about to kill himself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is horrifyingly bad.
This is shit.
And you know what?
I mean, it is.
I would have considered saying I'm sorry for this if you hadn't already made me watch Kirk Cameron Saving Christmas, the God's Not Dead movies, and what you have in store for me at the end of this month that we're not announcing quite yet.
Let me tell you what happened. Because little behind the scenes with this show. What we do, as far as Turkey Month, is we try to find. At least I try to find the funniest bad movies I can find, at least in terms of our conversation, and or at least the most outrageous, which is why I sometimes pick the Christian films.
Yeah. Hey, this fits our bill.
But there's also privately a contest that goes on between Doug and I. Because when we pick our movies, we try to figure out which one actually picked the worst movie out of all of them. We try to figure, at the end of the month, we always try to figure out. It's like, okay, who picked the worst movie?
This is honestly, look, even your choice. This is still going to be hard to beat.
I got 12 minutes into this thing, and I'm sitting there on my couch, and I literally said, "Doug, man, you win." God dang it. I was like, I can't even. I was like, man, I can't. This was such. Because at the time, the only movie that I had picked was Every Which Way But Loose.
Mm-hmm.
That is quaint compared to this.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
That is a lazy, slow drag compared to this.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
And your second choice, which is Starship Troopers, is practically ordinary compared to this.
That may have gone back on the tentative list, but more than likely, yes, is going to be Starship Troopers. Paul Verhoeven's awful 1997-8 science fiction atrocity.
We have four more of these to go.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do.
And I'm telling you, it's like, as I'm watching
these
this,
really
I'm
test
just
the
like,
limits of the human soul.
They do. I can't understand. I listened to a podcast, which is called We Hate Movies, where they talk about bad movies, sort of in the reverse of what we do. They do bad movies 11 months out of the year, and good movies 1 month out of the year. They do the reverse of what we do. I couldn't do it.
You know what? I
couldn't handle it.
I love watching Mystery Science Theater 3000 and Riff Tracks. I couldn't work there.
I couldn't
because
either.
You would have to watch these things over and over and over while you write jokes to it. Now, if you're doing this with a bunch of people, that's probably fun.
It's probably fun, but I'm telling you, I watched one of these shows was talking about. Have you ever seen a movie called Freddy Got Fingered?
I've seen enough of it.
I was watching this thing, and they were talking about it. They did a thing sort of like we do.
It's the only movie that Tom Green actually had creative control over, and he never got.
And God willing, the only movie that he will have control over.
Well, it's so far.
Richard Roper had the best. Richard Roper said the best thing, the most accurate thing ever about Tom Green. How is he getting movies? The man should be flipping burgers somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
He's just.
I don't understand how he got his show. I don't understand anything about Tom Green.
This show was like talking about this movie, but you could tell that they had to sit and write jokes about this movie. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, that means you had to sit through that shit about 4 or 5 times. Yeah. I sat through the Apple 4 times, but at least it was, I got to watch the riff tracks. Mm-hmm. I watched some other shows, so it was buffered by the jokes. I can't imagine.
Yeah.
Honest to God, I can't imagine doing this. And watching bad movies 11 months out of the year. I would lose my mind.
Yeah.
I would lose my mind.
Yeah.
We have fun because we can do this. We do 4 movies a year.
This year we have
this
year we have an extra one.
This year we have a 5th.
Because
this year we have an extra one. But this is fun for a month out of the year.
Yeah. That's why this year when we chose to torture ourselves in May as well, with our franchise's Take a Number 2 run, really started pushing our limits, I think, and that's why both of us took so long to settle on anything for November because of the 5 trash heaps that we did in May.
God help me. I like a good, fun, bad movie. But I can't sit there every day and watch bad movies. I can't. It just
and yeah, I will happily
I
take
get frustrated.
I will happily take the win here.
But it is.
It's just it's a cinematic atrocity that you have to see to believe, but I don't urge anyone to watch it without riff track.
You want to show it to somebody.
Yeah, I urge you to watch it with the riff tracks because it makes it bearable.
Yeah, no, it is. I will admit, it is $10.
It is, but it's $10 well spent.
It's $10 well spent. I watched that last night. It's not the last time I will watch that.
I have watched the riff tracks version of the Apple probably at least 6 or 8 times, if not more.
Yeah.
I
got a friend. I got a friend who I want her to see this.
I
absolutely.
I started describing it to my wife, and the look on her face, the sheer horror in her eyes as I'm describing this movie, was priceless, and I kind of want her to see this, but I also don't really want to do that to my marriage. Because this is the kind of thing that you show it, and it could actually ruin your relationship with the person.
Yeah.
I knew we'd be safe.
You really just kind of want to show them the riff tracks and be done with it, because
it's
much better and much easier to do it that way. Because the riff tracks does not cut it.
No, they actually don't. This is one of the few ones that they didn't take anything out of.
Right.
And there's so much here. There's so much to unpack, and you really don't want to.
So, I gotta ask you a question though. Has your wife seen next week's movie?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't really want to do that to her either.
I had to ask. I was like, I'd love to know the reaction of somebody who goes into that movie cold.
I had never seen it.
But you knew what it was about.
I knew that it was Clint Eastwood and an orangutan. I didn't know anything else about it. I thought that he was a gruff cop and the orangutan was assigned to him as his partner. I thought this was a Turner and Hooch. I thought this was a Turner and Hooch situation.
No, this is not 1985.
That he was really angry that he was paired with this. No, he's best friends with this orangutan. I had no idea anything about this movie except those two things. Ape.
Well, next week we're talking about Every Which Way But Loose, which is baffling in a different way. I watched this movie and I'm like, it's. I love the word you used was aimless.
Yeah.
The word you used was aimless. It's fascinating. Yeah. People always say to me, "Oh yeah, I remember that movie. I like that movie." And I'm like, "Have you seen it lately?"
I don't understand how anybody could have actually gone to a movie theater, paid money for this, and not been upset.
You know what? I'm trying to figure that out too, because I'm watching the movie and I'm like, it's kind of about this, it's kind of about that, it's kind of about this.
It's about
but it's never
nothing.
Really about anything.
It's about nothing at all. It's like if Jerry Seinfeld wrote a movie based on his show, but took out all of his good characters.
Right.
It's like, let's just have these people float along, and we'll just kind of watch them. It's almost as if they thought it was going to be a character piece.
I don't know. Well, I've got some information, which I'll share next week, but I've got some information on where the movie came from that I think might clear some things up. But
then yes, there's.
Then what are we talking about?
Then as far as I know right now, we're going to do Starship Troopers. I've been hovering around Starship Troopers for years.
I've never seen
Yeah,
this.
and that's part of the reason why I want to do it, because I adore the subset of people that believe that it is a
Cinematic marvel.
a cinematic marvel, a masterpiece of political commentary, and it is not.
Yeah.
It's not. It's
I read the book.
I
read the book when I was a kid.
Oh, so you read Heinlein Hitler?
I don't remember much about it. I remember reading it when I was a kid. I think I read it, probably read it twice. I remember so little about it.
He was a Nazi. He was a Nazi. The writer of the novel was a Nazi, and this whole thing is basically they literally talk about the failure of democracy, and they're living in like a totalitarian. It's amazing. And they are the whitest people from Brazil you'll ever see. Casper Van Dien, Denise Richards.
Yeah.
Buenos Aires.
And then, only a few hours ago, I dropped on Doug's head the movie that we will be talking about.
And it
for
also
the fourth week.
It also earns its place in this
God
canon
almighty.
that we have created.
I watched this again just before I told him what it was, and I got toward the end of the movie, and I'm like, if there's ever a contender for the Apple, this is it.
Listen,
we are talking about Richard Fleischer's love letter to Neil Diamond.
Yeah.
It is the remake of The Jazz Singer,
which was tired when it was made in 1927.
But it's even worse here. It's just...
I actually long for the quiet dignity of Al Jolson in blackface.
It's so bad. It's so in love with Neil Diamond, and and the producers are so absolutely sure that the only thing on the screen that you want to see for the entire movie is Neil Diamond. That when the credits come up, it is the MGM lion and the name Neil Diamond in big yellow letters.
Listen, I haven't gotten to the end of it yet. I just got to the after his big performance and his wife leaves him. I swear to you, if this ends with "Come Dry Your Eyes," I am not going to talk to you for like a week.
But it's Laurence Olivier.
Oh my!
I don't know how in the world the anti-Jewish Defamation League or the Jewish Anti-Defamation League didn't come after this movie, because he is so offensive in this movie.
Yeah.
It's a Jewish father who's like, it's like he's only seen movies about Jewish fathers.
Right.
And
It's like he took it's like he made Tevye a real person.
Right.
It's like,
or tried to.
Yeah, or he's like the living embodiment of what Topol basically represented in Fiddler on the Roof.
Right.
It's very...
He feels like an ancillary character from Fiddler.
Yeah, he does. And the wife is not much better.
I have no son.
Yeah. Yeah. So... I'm.
There's a reason this man was nominated for the on the very first Razzie Awards in 1980.
Yeah. It's a train wreck, but I still think. I mean, I'll say this. I still think the Apple is worse. However,
it is.
However, at least the Apple moves at a pace that gets you through its 88 minutes.
And you can actually get through the songs
fairly quickly. This is an almost 2-hour long just Neil Diamond after Neil Diamond. I can't stand his voice. I can't stand the arrangements of his song. When other people sing his songs, when the Monkees sang his songs when he was a Tin Pan Alley writer, they were good. When Johnny Cash...
Andy Boone made his songs tolerable.
Yeah, when Johnny Cash covered Solitary Man, I thought it was one of the greatest songs ever written. Until I remembered it was a Neil Diamond song.
Yeah,
but when Neil Diamond sings his own songs, he sounds like I would imagine Leisure Suit Larry sounds. I hate his voice. I hate his musical arrangements. I don't disparage him as a person because I know nothing about him as a person, but his work is terrible when he does it himself.
Right.
And then Starship Troopers, or after Starship Troopers, and then I think we want to keep this last one a surprise because
yeah, let's keep the last one.
The last one I think is the one this year that might actually have a chance at challenging the Apple. I have not seen it.
Well, it's kind of like I'm not going to tell what it is, but it's kind of a miracle that because it's a terrible Christmas themed movie that fits beautifully in the hybrid between Turkey Month and Christmas.
Right, and as a clue, if you want to try to parse this out, this is going to be very vague. But after watching the movie, I feel like I will need the writer-director's initials to clean up.
Yeah. Yeah. But we're not saying what it is.
And I'm not even going to give you the letters, but...
No, we got a little fifth surprise.
Yeah, I'm dreading. I would possibly rather watch The Jazz Singer again before I watch this one.
You will want to watch Every Which Way But Loose again.
Oh, I'm going to.
Other than watch this, but yeah, that's what we got for Turkey Month.
And if we survive it,
so next week is Every Which Way But Loose.
We'll let you know near the end of the month if we survive it. What's coming up in December? If we have the mental capacity to. Again,
all these movies that we're talking about. Can you imagine doing this 11 months out of the year?
No, I would.
12 months out of the year.
I would harm myself. I would. The world would lose meaning, I think, at that point. But yeah, so that's what we have coming up.
All right.
We urge you to use your judgment if you want to follow us along on this journey. These are truly terrible films. That will actually...
These are truly tasteless films.
They will make you question the very nature of reality and taste. And so just with caution.
Yes.
But I think that about wraps it up here for us. The BIM's no longer on the way, I guess. I'm going to sign off. It's a terrible, terrible film. We thank you.
Do the riff tracks.
Yes, get the riff tracks. We thank you very much for listening. You can find all of our back episodes at the podbaydoorspodcast.wordpress.com. You can listen to us on iTunes and YouTube. Hit the like, subscribe, and notifications buttons there. Our Twitter handle is @pod_bay. Copy and paste that over at Patreon, and you can find us there, where we have several members-only, patrons-only episodes there. We thank you very much for joining us, and the pod bay doors are now closed.
The mission has been completed.